Once more, we must retrace our steps from the ground floor, or room number 4, to the church room, or room number 2, for there has sprung up within one of the churches a false church conceived by Satan, which has existed through the years, and finally become Satan's instrument in the persecution of the Tribulation Saints, or of those who are left behind. In this room, there will be revealed to us the mystery of evil and the final destruction. There is no outlet to this room. Everything there will be destroyed by fire.
We are now at the front lobby again. There is room number 2. And from this room, it leads out to another room. There is room number 5. It's spelled L-O-O. We now enter the toilet zone, T-O-I-L-E-T, which is room number 5. Room number 5, which is also the gents and the ladies. Revelation chapter 17 to 18. It concerns Satan's church, religious or ecclesiastic system. It starts from a city called Babel in ancient Babylonia and ends in the Greek city called Babylon the Great in Iraq. The time of this prophecy is from the rapture, where Babylon the Great rises, to the return of Christ when he falls. The passageway leads to this room from room number 2, which is the churches. It leads from the wicked woman Jezebel of the Thyatira church. This was the type of the church of the Dark Ages, where humanism had almost extinguished the light of God's word. They gave a reformation in the Sardis era. It started the church again on its way to fulfill its destiny. Prophecy does not show the Protestant church is coming out of the Roman church, but Romanism is growing up within the church as a parasite, which had to be cast out. Jezebel is a type of this parasite. She did not cease to exist after the church was cleansed or reformed. She became Satan's grand counterfeit of God's church. In the last days, she bears the same relationship to the beast that the church bears to Christ. This is not something new in the world. Satan had always had a strong religion. Jezebel of the Old Testament was a type of the same satanic religion. Now we are to look at this woman in the last days of her existence, when she will probably take unto herself all false religions and many apostate churches. In the days of the early church, the state of control of the devil system has shifted from Babylon to Pergamos, where Satan cities, and from there to Rome, and Rome became that great city which rules over the kings of the earth. In the last days, Bible prophecies predict that Babylon will rise and again become the center of the world religious and commercial city.
One of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls came and said to me, "Come, I will show you the punishment of the great prostitute, who sits by many waters." With her, the kings of the earth committed adultery, and the inhabitants of the earth were intoxicated with the wine of her adulteries. Then the angel carried me away in the spirit into a wilderness. There I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast that was covered with blasphemous names and had 7 heads and 10 horns. The woman was dressed in purple and scarlet and was glittering with gold, precious stones, and pearls. She held a golden cup in her hand, filled with abominable things and the filth of her adulteries. The name written on her forehead was a mystery: Babylon the Great, the mother of prostitutes and of the abominations of the earth. I saw that the woman was drunk with the blood of God's holy people, and the blood of those who bore testimony to Jesus. Then, when I saw her, I was greatly astonished. Then the angel said to me, "Why are you astonished? I will explain to you the mystery of the woman and of the beast she rides, which had the 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast which you saw once was, now is not, and yet will come out of the abyss and go into destruction. The inhabitants of the earth, whose names have not been written in the book of life from the creation of the world, will be astonished when they see the beast, because it once was, now is not, and yet will come." This calls for a mind to wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 hills on which the woman sits. There are also 7 kings. Before I have fallen, one is, the other has not yet come. But when he comes, he must remain for only a little while. The beast who once was, now is not, is an 8th king. He belongs to the 7 and is going to destruction. The 10 horns you saw are 10 kings who have not received the kingdom, but who for 1 hour will receive authority as kings along with the beast. They have one purpose: they will give the power and authority to the beast. They will wage war against the Lamb, but the Lamb will triumph over them, because he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and with him will be his called, chosen, and faithful followers. Then the angel said to me, "The waters which you saw, where the prostitute sits, are peoples, multitudes, nations, and languages. The beast and the 10 horns you saw will hate the prostitute. They will bring her to ruin and leave her naked. They will eat her flesh and burn her with fire. For God has put it into their hearts to accomplish his purpose by agreeing to hand over to the beast their royal authority until God's words are fulfilled. The woman you saw is the great city that rules over the kings of the earth."
Babylon the Great in religious art. On the left, a medieval painting, and on the right, 18th century art. The face of Babylon the Great Hall, the mother of harlots, bloodthirsty and drunk with the blood of the prophets and the saints. The 2 Babylons, or the people worship, proved to be worship of Nimrod and his wife. This amazing volume, written by a Protestant pastor, the late Reverend Alexander Hyslop, proves that the people worship to be actually the worship of Nimrod and his wife, complete in every detail. The introduction notes that the providence of God, conspiring with the word of God, by light pouring in from all quarters, makes it more and more evident that Rome is in very deep the Babylon of the Apocalypse, that the essential character of a system, the grand objects of a worship, the festivals, the doctrine and discipline, the rites and ceremonies, the priesthood and the orders, have all been derived from ancient Babylon. And finally, that the Pope himself is truly and properly the lineal representative of Belshazzar of ancient Babylon. BBC News report on the 23rd and 24th of January 2002. Pope leads World Prayer Day. Pope John Paul II led 200 other religious leaders in a day of prayers for peace in Assisi, the birthplace of St. Francis. Roman Catholic cardinals, Muslim clerics, Jewish rabbis, Buddhists, Sikhs, Baha'is, Hindus, Jains, Zoroastrians, and members of African traditional religions among those assembled for prayer. Judged as a spectacle, the Pope's Day of Prayer for World Peace was certainly impressive. Walking side by side and exchanging greetings were patriarchs and imams, monks and rabbis. There were groups of every style and color and an eye-catching array of clerical headwear. The Pope prayed in the Basilica of St. Francis, which contains the tomb of one of the Catholic Church's best-known saints. The simple lifestyle several hundred years ago has made Assisi a place of pilgrimage. Pope John Paul II has made several visits here during the 23 years of his papacy. He chose the town for his first day of prayer for peace in 1986, when the main threat to the world was considered to be nuclear war. In 1993, he invited leaders of the Christian, Muslim and Jewish faiths to join him to pray for an end to the war in Bosnia. At the end of Thursday event, the representatives of the world's religions assembled again at the main square next to the Basilica to make a joint commitment to work for peace. Speaking for the Roman Catholic Church and its 1 billion members around the world, the Pope told them, "Never against violence, never against war, never against terrorism. In the name of God, may every religion bring upon the earth justice and peace, forgiveness and life and love." He then lit a lamp symbolizing peace. He wants it to become a beacon of hope for a troubled world. If you follow world events, in recent years we have witnessed Pope John Paul II reaching out to a divided Christian world in his quest for a united church. So far he has invited the Anglican Bishop of England and the Greek Patriarch of the Orthodox world to join him in his search for peace and unity. The recent Lutheran and Roman Catholic Accord on Unity is a sign of his success. He has also reached out to Israel and the Jewish world and the Arabs and the Muslims in the Middle East. This quest of the Pope to seek for world peace and unity is fulfilling Bible prophecy that one day there will be a world religion of faith and one church united under him, known as Babylon the Great in Bible prophecy. And his headquarters may even be relocated to the Middle East in the great city of Babylon in Iraq, once has been rebuilt and restored to prosperity. The splendor of ancient Babylon, around 600 years BC. Babel, an artist's conception of ancient Babylon, with the hanging gardens in the foreground and the Tower of Babel in the background, with the river Euphrates flowing through the center. Babylon, the great city, was seen by the Apostle John symbolically as a prostitute sitting upon many waters. The great ancient Babylon of Chaldea set literally upon many waters too, on the many canals of the river Euphrates. Great ancient Babylon's most famous landmark, the Tower of Babel, seen in the many paintings here. Nebuchadnezzar's capital of his great empire, Babylon the great city. The long city of Babylon, discovered last century, 60 miles south of BC Baghdad, by German archaeologists and excavated by Professor Robert Cordovay, has been able to bring to light the fabulous Babylon of the Bible. And 70 years after the excavation, the site still presents a dismal and chaotic appearance. Wind and desert sand was slowly and relentlessly carving up again the gigantic skeleton of the old metropolis. Only on one side, a few block-like towers stood out with sharply defined silhouettes against the sky. Their big walls, once brilliantly stood tall, were bleak and bare. The pomp and glory and the power and the might of the city, which sinned against the Lord, were all destroyed and disappeared. Before 1987, it could be rightly called Babylon the Dead. This is an aerial photograph that shows the site of ancient Babylon on the river Euphrates. Clear in the foreground is the outline of the great Etemenanki ziggurat or the Tower of Babel. Before 1987, many Bible teachers have taught that Great Babylon had already been destroyed in history and were never to rise again. But with the ancient prophecies about Babylon's cataclysmic fiery destruction and total obliteration fulfilled already, let's allow a news record preserved from history itself to satisfy from King Cyrus himself. This is the photo of the Cyrus cylinder or clay barrel that documented the fall of Babylon on that fateful night on October the 12th, 539 BC, and when Cyrus entered the city on October the 29th, 539 BC. This cuneiform document, the so-called Cyrus cylinder in the British Museum, tells us about this in the Babylonian language. As I entered Babylon peacefully and took out my suit of garment in the royal palace amid rejoicing and exultation, Marduk the great lord inclined the hearts of the Babylonians towards me. The inhabitants of Babylon I freed from the yoke, which it was not seemly for them to wear. Indeed, the last Babylonian king, Nabonidus, had persons sternly anointed the praise of Marduk and alienated the whole of Babylon with wrong-headed religious policies. In the year 540 BC, the Persian army of the Emperor Cyrus killed the Babylonian king Nabonidus, and a year later the Persians occupied Babylon. The capital of the Babylonian Empire seems to have fallen to the new rulers without a battle. Indeed, they were probably treated as liberators. This proves conclusively that Babylon was not totally burned nor destroyed. Remember that Daniel was in Babylon 1059, and he was not burned together with it. The rebuilding of the city of Babylon, in the land of Sinai or Chaldea, or modern-day Iraq, was predicted in the Old Testament by the prophet Zechariah. Let's turn to Zechariah chapter 5, verse 5 to 11, where this prophecy is stated. That angel who was speaking to me, that is to Zechariah, came forward and said to me, Look up and see what it is that is appearing. I asked, what is it? He replied, it's a measuring basket. And he added, this is the iniquity of the people throughout the land. Then a cover of land was raised, and then the basket said the woman. He said, this is wickedness, and he pushed her back into the basket and pushed the lead cover down over his mouth. Then I looked up, and there before me were two women with the wind in their wings. Their wings like those of a stork, and they lifted up the basket between heaven and earth. Where are they taking the basket? I asked the angel, who was speaking to me. He replied, to the country of Babylonia, to build a house for it. When it is ready, the basket will be set there in its place. Zechariah was the product of the Babylonian exile to the Jews in the 6th century before Christ. Born in Babylon, he returned to Jerusalem in 538 BC. Zechariah was from a priestly family, and he watched his people begin to rebuild the temple in 536 BC. They wrote in Jerusalem language, however, and God spoke to Zechariah and Haggai and called them to deliver his message to the people. Rebuild the temple. While this was their immediate message, God also gave them a glimpse of the future plans for the nation of Israel. Zechariah had a vision about Babylon on February the 15th, 519 BC. On the 24th day of the 11th Hebrew month of Shebat, the second year of King Darius I the Great, who ruled from 522 to 486 BC. He saw a measuring basket with a cover that was said to contain the iniquity of the people throughout the land. The woman Zechariah saw was wickedness personified, as though all the evil deeds and actions done by mankind were represented by one character. The heavy lead cover was designed to keep the woman of wickedness from escaping. After showing Zechariah this scene, the angel pushed the woman into the basket and shut the lid. Obviously, Zechariah was not implying that God had removed all wickedness from the world. Rather, he had confined and limited it. God was restraining wickedness and keeping it in check so that it would not run free in the world. The basket was carried away by two angelic beings to the country of Babylonia or Babylon. Wickedness will be deposited in the land where man first rebelled against God, where a rebel named Nimrod led mankind to build a tower to reach God. Babylon was the city that threatened God's land of promise and sacked and burned Jerusalem. Wickedness, said the angel, would again reside in Babylon. But how? Zechariah had been living in the land of Babylon when he fell to the Middle Persians. Could Babylon rise again? Yes. Zechariah's vision showed that the house of Babylon will rise again when it is ready. The time and place had not been right for thousands of years. But when God's prophetic plan is ready, Babylon will be rebuilt. Wickedness will again reign from the plain of Babylon. The city where man's rebellion against God began will be the site where man's rebellion will return to take up residence. Every day that passes brings us closer to the end times, and every day the eyes of the world focus more closely on events in the Middle East and Mesopotamia. One key element in God's program of end-time activities will be the re-establishment of Babylon as a world power, when wickedness will again occupy the city of man. And as Babylon takes its place in the center of world stage as a religious, commercial, and political capital, it's time to open our eyes. The first sign of the rebuilding of Babylon appeared in 1987, which happened to cut out and paste about 15 years ago. Let me read to you the evidence from this news clipping. Newspaper Times, Wednesday, September the 23rd, 1987. Iraq to reconstruct ancient city. Nicosia, Wednesday, Iraqi President Saddam Hussein has ordered the reconstruction of the ancient city of Babylon as a symbol of Iraq grandeur, the state-owned Iraqi news agency said. The announcement came amid ceremonies yesterday to mark the opening of a month-long Babylon International Festival at the site of the ruins of the ancient city 90 kilometers south of Baghdad. The news agency said Mr. Hussein in person has ordered Babylon's reconstruction to serve as a living example of the grandeur of the Iraqis. The ceremonies in Babylon coincided with Iranian ceremonies marking the 7th anniversary of the start of the Iran-Iraq War. INA said 2,500 years ago, Babylon came under attack after Persian ruler Khoros or Cyrus and his son Cambyses later ordered the city put to the torch. Gulf analysts said the move to restore the ruins of ancient Babylon, where Iraq was still locked in a devastating war with Iran, was aimed at shifting public attention from the bloody battles at the front. The Babylon Festival will continue until October the 22nd and will include performing groups from more than 50 countries. INA said. Babylon, one of the most ancient cities of the world, has been revived, reconstructed and maintained especially for the festival, the Iraqi news agency Dispatch said. The news agency did not explain the apparent discrepancy in the report, which also said Mr. Hussein has ordered Babylon's reconstruction. At the height of its glory, Babylon contained the famous Hanging Gardens, considered one of the 7 wonders of the world. The Iraqi news agency did not say whether or not those two will be reconstructed. The festival activities will include concerts, operas, folk tributes, private ballet shows, acrobat shows, solo and jazz recitals, and theatre performance, the Iraqi news agency said. The special event will be attended by world-famous archaeologists, musicologists, and historians, INA said. Babylon was one of the world's most ancient, famous capitals in antiquity and served as a cultural center for 15 centuries. Babylon's original name was Babil. It is often translated as the gate of the gods. And 3 years later, on August 17, 1990, during the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait, New Straits Times put up this photo that shows the walls of Babylon begins to rise. Iraqis believe they originated from the union of a lion and a woman as symbolized by this statue. In the background are the walls of the outer courtyard of the ancient city of Babylon, which is undergoing restoration. Saddam Hussein launched the restoration of Babylon 4 years ago during the 1980 and 1988 war in Iran. He brought in more than 1,000 laborers from Sudan to toil in the desert heat on the banks of the Euphrates to rebuild Nebuchadnezzar's southern palace and other parts of the ruined city. Again, 3 years later, on November 4th, Thursday, 1993, New Straits Times reports, Babylon set for greater splendor. Babylon, Iraq. The entrance to the restored city of Babylon is adorned with portraits representing one of the ancient rulers, Hammurabi, the lawgiver, and the man who will outdo them, Iraqi President Saddam Hussein. At this site just 90 kilometers south of Iraq capital Baghdad, another of the city's ancient rulers, Nebuchadnezzar, constructed the palace and the Hanging Gardens that make Babylon one of the 7 wonders of the world. Saddam is trying to take Babylon to even greater heights of splendor, not so much out of archaeological interest, but as a symbol of defense to Iraq's enemies, mainly Israel. Babylon is a symbol surely political. Israel is against any Arab revival. Israel throughout history could not forget Babylon. Hebrew prophets of the Old Testament directed the bitter inventive of the exile against Babylon and its rulers. By its rivers more than 2,500 years ago, tens of thousands of Jews remembered Zion set for them. Nebuchadnezzar had captured Jerusalem and took the Jews in chains along with the king to captivity in Babylon. Come, sit in the dust, for days of glory, pomp, and order are ended, Bible prophet Isaiah said of Babylon. But today artificial lakes and mountains, sumptuous palaces, restaurants, playgrounds, and theaters rise from the ancient dust. This month Saddam fitted the accomplishment with a huge arts festival. Despite the United Nations sanctions claim on Iraq for its invasion of Kuwait in 1990, artists and musicians from 22 countries attended. On one night alone of the 2-week festival, 100,000 people crammed the city's palaces and public places. It represents steadfastness in the face of aggression. It is a symbol of Iraq rising again, despite war damage, an official in the city said. There were dancers from Armenia, singers from Moldavia, drummers from Mauritius, ballet dancers from Italy, troubadours from Spain, and folk singers from Sri Lanka. The beloved city is no longer a heap of ruins, said a member of the organizing committee. Saddam's inspiration for the reconstruction is the Babylon of the Chaldeans, 626 to 539 BC, whose king Nebuchadnezzar spent his 43-year reign enlarging, fortifying, and embellishing his Babylon, or gifts of the gods, making it one of the ancient wonders of the world. Bricks used by Iraqis in the construction are inscribed with Saddam's name, just like those in the city debris engraved with Nebuchadnezzar's. Most of Babylon's annual festivals took place at the Greek theatre built by Alexander the Great, who ruled the ancient city for more than a decade in the 4th century BC. Alexander died in Babylon in 322 BC, probably of malaria. His theatre was just a pile of bricks and earth a few years ago. Now it stands almost 20 meters high. It's perhaps the only Greek monument of its kind in the world, built of big bricks. Apart from the Greek theatre, which celebrated Arab and Iraqi singers staged the performance, there was Nebuchadnezzar's palace, a large portion of it restored to its former shape. In Nebuchadnezzar's throne room, a hall 15 by 50 meters, bands and symphony orchestras from different countries performed. Other events were staged in the city's magnificent avenue, called by the Babylonians Ibu Shabu, made the enemy not cross it, and now known as Procession Street. Dr. Charles Fitzgerald, a professor of Dallas Theological Seminary, came out with this book, The Rise of Babylon, Sign of the End Times, which became an instant bestseller in the 1990s. Inside you can see startling photos from Iraq reveal that Saddam Hussein is revealing the lost city of Babylon. This map, taken from Dr. Dayer's book, The Rise of Babylon, shows Babylon the restored after 1990. Structure shaded in green has already been completely reconstructed. Here are the Mother Gate, the Greek Theatre, built by Alexander the Great, the Hammurabi Museum, the Nebuchadnezzar Museum, the model of the Star Gate, the Nimna Temple, the original Star Gate, and the walls of the Procession Street, called Ibu Shabu, meaning they may not cross it in Babylonian. And the southern palace of Nebuchadnezzar and Saddam's guest house. Saddam Hussein has built a replica of the Star Gate in Babylon as a memorial to ancient Babylon. The original Star Gate was discovered and taken apart stone by stone and shipped back to Germany by German archaeologists and assembled there in the Museum of the Near East in Berlin. Babylon to be restored. Photographs of the city arisen and awaiting a final drama to fulfill a role in Bible prophecy. Two Babylons in the Bible, or repair one only. A great mystery and an even greater controversy over a Babel of Babylons. Are there two Babylons in the Bible? One little Babylon in Saudi or modern Iraq of the Old Testament, and another symbolic Babylon in Rome, Italy of the New Testament. Or is there but one Babylon in God's word? It's my plan. The mystery of Babylon the Great. We know that Babylon has been rebuilt by Saddam Hussein. But now with the US invasion of Iraq and Saddam Hussein gone, we will expect new players to come into the world stage to make Babylon even greater than before. And the new players could be a religious figure, the Roman Catholic Pope, and the Antichrist. Babylon, the great hall of prostitutes, called a city. But who is she? Can she be positively identified? Yes, this woman who represents a great religious commercial system of the last days goes by the name of the city where the throne is located. The only city in the world which has ever claimed to exercise spiritual and temporary sovereignty of the kings of the earth is Rome. At the present time, it could apply to no other city than the Vatican. But this woman does not come suddenly into existence. She has been carried by the beast throughout its history. She represents the devil's ecclesiastical system of this world, and of all ages, from the building of the Tower of Babel. The central city of Satan's church has not always been Rome. Once it was Babylon. Revelation chapter 12 verse 13 mentions it as being Pergamos. Today it is the Vatican, but it may not always remain so. We have seen much Bible evidence and current events that the city of Babylon has been rebuilt and will become the great city that will reign over the kings of the earth. Rome is not so situated that it could fulfill the terms of the prophecies of Revelation chapter 17-18. And yet today, its only Rome of own, it could be said, in her was found the blood of the prophets and saints, and of all that was slain upon the earth. So we are going to see some sensational changes in Bible lands. Babylon, the center of all this activity, a sandy waste in the too hot country that for generations has known nothing but poverty and civil wars, a land that naturally resists the encroachment of outside culture, has been rebuilt. Babylon is also a religious center. From this stands a world religion, and that which came out of it before the confusion of tongues. When you look at Babylon from the religious point of view, it's still more astounding. Islam and Romanism are ancient enemies, but we will take powerful forces to bring them together. A common hatred or a common enemy might do it. Babylon the Great starts as a universal religious system with its headquarters in the city that will almost have to be Rome. But it will end as a universal religious commercial system with its headquarters in a new city called Babylon. And actually the Roman system started in Babylon. It's only fitting to see that it meets its doom there. Babylon could be rebuilt by a church. The church whose idolatrous worship started there will return there and there come to its end. If Babylon is to be the center of a universal religion, Babylon will have to unite the great false religions of the world. This is going to be something new, something that has never happened before. The whole world will join in one great religion which will be able to make it rich. This in every aspect is the opposite of true Christianity. This city, Babylon, will be operating for some time before it is destroyed. This explains that ancient Babel, Imperial Rome, the papacy, and the Vatican, and also the rebuilt Babylon in Iraq today, could all be called Babylon the Great in Bible prophecies. It's because Satan's throne has shifted from ancient Babylon to Pergamos to Imperial Rome and then to the Vatican in Rome. And finally, it could be relocated back to a rebuilt Babylon in Iraq in the last days before it makes its tomb at the return of Christ. In 1979, I came across a book by a medical doctor, a Malaysian residing in Singapore, who came out with a book, The Antichrist Beast Identified and Revealed. Dr. Chan, I believe, has been given special insight by the Holy Spirit to identify the great Antichrist beast as the Soviet Union rather than the European Union, as held by many prophetic scholars and professors of many prestigious seminaries in the West. The red beast in Bible prophecies could be found in many of the Old Testament prophecies. It could be found in the book of Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39, in the book of Joel, Jeremiah, Nahum, Zephaniah, Micah, Isaiah, and in Daniel chapter 8, 9, and 11. But here we will discuss the red beast in the book of Revelation chapter 17 and 18 in relation to the great prostitute called Babylon, the great city. Revelation chapter 17 and 18. The mystery of a great prostitute on the red beast. John in vision saw Babylon, the great city, pictured as a great hall, and writes the red beast in the end time. The red beast is said, was, is not, and is to come. This beast is a composite symbol of all the world empires of all time, the seven heads, two, the world empire of the last days, the 10 horns, 3, the real head of all human governments, the prince of this world, the devil, and 4, the human head of the last world empire, Antichrist, the carnal manifestation of Satan. John said that this beast was, is not, and is to come. It was, that is, it existed before the Roman Empire as the Greco-Macedonian Empire. But now in St. John's time, it is not, or no longer existed. But it is prophesied to come, that it will be revived in the end time as the rich silver empire of the abyss. And some have thought that these 7 heads of the beast refer to the 7 hills of Rome. But the angels said specifically that the 7 mountains, the 7 heads, are symbols of 7 kings, that is, the 7 world empires of history. And they say that 5 have fallen. These 5 are Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Persia, and Greece. The one is that is existed during John time is the Roman Empire. And the other that has not yet come is Europe or the European Union. And John said that the beast is himself the 8th head and emerges out of one of the 7. That is, Soviet Russia originates from the 5th or Greek head of world empire by a Slavic and Greek descent. The 8th head is also Satan the devil in the person of Antichrist. Satan himself will not create empire. He will assume control of an empire already in existence when he makes this miraculous appearance. In other words, the empire will be formed by a conqueror, and although it will be in fact the revival of the Roman Empire, it will be new and counted as the 7. In this 7th head, the revival of Rome is the European Union, At the time of the rapture, Satan will take over this empire, probably arrange the kingdoms in Japan, and extend his power to the ends of the earth. So he is called the eighth, and is also out of the seven. The 10 kings. This is the same beast that we saw rise out of the sea in Revelation chapter 13. It represents Satan's control of the kingdoms of the earth. The 10 horns represents the world empire of the last days. The 10 kings have not yet received a kingdom, but to receive power as king 1 hour with the beast. This suggests how the last empire is to be formed, by the union of 10 kings or nations. Satan, after uprooting himself 3 kings, will set his own kings over this nation. The reign will be short. 1 hour indicates a brief time, probably a few years. The unseen mind is Satan. In yielding their power to one man, they are following the plan of Satan. Both Daniel and Revelation indicate there will be more than one head to this last empire. First there will be a man who brings empire into existence. This is to be the 7th of the world empire, which are represented by the 7 heads of the beast. When Antichrist is viewed as the incarnation of Satan, he will take over this empire, up to 3 kings, and set up his own kings over the nations, and so become an 8, but really only a continuation of the 7. And these nations have one policy, which is depicted by the Antichrist beast. At the coming of Christ, they will be lined up against him. This war with the Lamb is known as the Battle of Armageddon, and is described in Revelation chapter 19. John said that the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and with the wine of whose fornication the inhabitants of the earth have become drunk. To commit fornication spiritually is to worship idols. Symbolically is a league, union, or working agreement with an idolatrous or false religious system, the prostitution of spiritual values for material gain. Governments of whatever nature are called kings. This so-called church exercise authority over kings and receive certain advantages in return for material gain. John said that this great city or megapolis Babylon the Great, pictured as a prostitute, dominates 7 world empires. It is by these 7 great powers then, filling up the whole interval of this world's history, this great harlot is said to be carried. On this she writes according to the vision. It is not upon one alone, nor upon any particular number of them, but upon all of them, the whole 7-headed beast that she seeks. These 7 powers, each and all, support the woman as a joy and pride, and she accepts and uses them and sways their administrations and rights and glory by means of them. They are her devotees, lovers, and most humble servants, and she is the patronizing and most noble lady, with a mutuality of favors and intercommunion belonging to her destination. This is a picture as explained by the angel. But to say that the Roman papacy was thus carried, nurtured, and sustained by the ancient empires of Greece, Persia, Babylon, Assyria, and Egypt would be a great lie on history. It was not so. In the nature of things, it could not be so. By no means then can this harlot be interpreted as the Arab papacy alone, as maintained by many respectable interpreters. Furthermore, it is a matter of fact that as surely as Rome in John's day, and Greece, Persia, Babylon, Assyria, and Egypt before Rome existed and bore sway on the earth as regal mountains, so surely and conspicuously were they each and all ridden by this great harlot. They were each and all the lovers, supporters, and defenders of organized falsehood in religion, the patrons of idolatry, the foster friends of all manner of spiritual harlotry. Nimrod, the hunters of the sons of men and author of despotic garment, established his idolatrous inventions as the crown and glory of his empire, and intertwined the worship of idols with the standards of his power. It was the same with Egypt, whose colossal remains, unfading paintings, and mummy scrolls confirm the scripture perpetrators of her disgusting devotions and tell how the priests of these abominations were honored by the throne of which they were the chief advisors. And it was so with Assyria, as the assumptions of Nineveh abundantly attest. It was so with Babylon of Nebuchadnezzar, as Daniel, who lived amidst it all, has written. And it was so with Greece, as her own most cherished poet sung, her mightiest orators proclaimed, and all her venerated artists and historians have set forth. It was so with Rome, as all the widespread monuments still show, and all the Christian testimony with their own rendered clear and manifest as the sun. And it will be so with the last, is yet to come, as declared in the apocalyptic foreshowings in all the prophecies in the book of God upon the subject. It requires but a glance at history to see that spiritual harlotry has ever been the particular pet and delight of all the beast powers of time. If ever the worship and requirements of the true God won their respect and patronage, they soon corrupted it their own selfish and ambitious ends, or never were easy until freed from the felt restraint. True religion and unproper church has never suited the representatives of power or placed them long. Dragon agencies are ill at ease without some form of dragon worship. Only what were dignified, if not deified, lust and selfishness is in the court with their spirit. They simply favor and honor their own, whom they favor and cherish, the base woman. Her gaudiness and pomp, her gaiety in ready compenses the ennoblement of the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, and enamor them and make them glad to bear her on her shoulders. It is a sad commentary on humanity, but it is the truth, and all the great world powers, from the first to the last, are the paramours and props of the harlot woman. This great prostitute, called Babylon the great city, also sits upon many waters. The waters are interpreted as peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. That is, her influence reaches around the world, and she exercises authority over many widely scattered people. And in the last days, she will also dominate the nations of the whole world with the oil, trade, and worldly commerce. And this wicked woman, or the great prostitute, also ride on the red beast, or the Antichrist, or supreme Soviet dictator, with the oil also, which he needed most for massive armies and war industries in the last days. The next slide will show how she do it. Great Babylon's black gold, oil, the blood and arteries of a modern industrial world, and the red beast's Achilles heel. Middle is oil, the means by which Babylon, the great capital city, could in the future dominate and control the world, and even the Antichrist or the red beast, by economic blackmail, limiting productions or by raising oil prices. 50% of the world's proven oil reserve lies buried under the sands of the Middle East. Iraq, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Abu Dhabi, Dubai combined alone produces 34% of the world's total production. World demand for OPEC oil grew from 20 to 25 million barrels per day by the year 2000. Babylon the Great prostitute has sat on all 7 heads of the beast of world powers with her idolatrous practices and religion, and she will again control the last head, that is the head of the revived Soviet Empire. And even as Babylon the Great economically control the Middle East oil supply of the red beast and the allies that is the 10 horns of kings, or the European Union, which by then has rendered all the sovereignty and power to the red dictator. But for a while, the red beast will allow the prostitute to drag him because he needed her oil to fuel her massive red armies for other exploits. So he will sign a treacherous pact with Babylon. But when the ruler of Babylon feels secure, the king of the north will suddenly invade Iraq to throw a yoke off his back. Tired of the antics of this bitch riding on his back, the Supreme Soviet will then double-cross the king of Babylon and declare war on Iraq. History repeats itself like what it did in the Islamic nation of Afghanistan on December the 24th, 1979, to destroy and plunder oil fields and other resources. And the Red Peace master plan is to seize Babylon, the great oil capital of the world, will be achieved before it turns to the other Gulf states in the Middle East and Israel, and tying finally Jerusalem, where he also made his doom and Armageddon with the Lord Jesus Christ and his massive armies. After all this, I saw another angel come down from heaven with great authority, and the earth grew bright with his splendor. He gave a mighty shout, Babylon is fallen, the great city is fallen. She has become the hideout of demons and evil spirits, a nest for filthy buzzards, and a den for dreadful beasts. For all the nations have drunk the wine of her passionate immorality. The rulers of the world have committed adultery with her, and the merchants throughout the world have grown rich as a result of her luxurious living. Then I heard another voice calling from heaven, Come away from her, my people. Do not take part in her sins, or you will be punished with her. For her sins are piled up as high as heaven, and God is ready to judge her for evil deeds. Do to her as she has done to your people. Give her a double penalty for all her evil deeds. She brewed a cup of terror for others, so give her twice as much as she gave out. She has lived in luxury and pleasure, so match it now with torments and sorrows. She boasts, I am queen on my throne. I am no helpless widow. I will not experience sorrow. Therefore the sorrows of death and mourning and famine will overtake her in a single day. She will be utterly consumed by fire. For the Lord God who judges her is mighty. And the rulers of the world who took part in her immoral acts and enjoyed her great luxury will mourn her as they see the smoke rising from her charred remains. They will stand at a distance, terrified by her great torment. They will cry out, how terrible, for Babylon, that great city. In a single moment, God's judgment came on her. The merchants of the world will weep and mourn for her, for there is no one left to buy their goods. He bought great quantities of gold, silver, jewels, pearls, fine linen, purple dye, silk, scarlet cloth, and every kind of perfume wood, every good appeasement of expensive wood, bronze, iron, and marble. He also bought cinnamon, spice, incense, malt, frankincense, wine, olive oil, fine flour, wheat, cattle, sheep, horses, chariots, and slaves. Yes, he even traded in human lives. All the fancy things you loved so much are gone, they cried. The luxuries and splendor that you prized so much will never be yours again. They are gone forever. The merchants who became wealthy by selling her things will stand at a distance, terrified by a great command. They will weep and cry, how terrible, for that great city. She was so beautiful, like a woman clothed in finest purple and scarlet linen, decked out with gold and precious stones, pearls. In one single moment, all the wealth of the city is gone, and all the ship owners and captains of the merchant ships and their crews will stand at a distance. They will weep as they watch the smoke ascend, and will say, where in all the world is there another city like this? And they will throw dust on the head to show the great sorrow, and they will say, how terrible for the great city. She made us all rich from a great wealth, and now in a single hour it's all gone. But you, O heavens, rejoice over her fate, for you also rejoice, O holy people of God, and apostles and prophets, for at last God has judged her on your behalf. Then a mighty angel picked up the boulder as large as a great millstone. He threw it into the ocean and shouted, Babylon the Great will be thrown down as violently as I have thrown away this stone, and she will disappear forever. Never again will the sound of music be heard in her. No more harps, songs, flutes, or trumpets. There will be no industry of any kind, and no more milling of grains. The nights will be dark, without a single lamp. There will be no happy voices of brides and grooms. This will happen because the merchants, who are the greatest in the world, they fill the nations with the subsidies. In the streets, the blood of the prophets was spilled. She was the one who slaughtered God's people all over the world. We quickly run for our lives and call room number 5 as warned by God. As we see Babylon, the great city in Iraq, falls to the retrace and its European allies and is destroyed forever. And we heard the words that God has remembered her sins. This is exactly the same words and event we heard and saw as we exit room number 4. There is the earth room. With Revelation chapter 12 and ends Revelation chapter 16. This shows that the events in both room number 4, and here in room number 5, which is Revelation chapter 17 and 18, are parallel at the time. It starts at the rapture of the church and ends at the return of Jesus Christ to earth.